And I lost my job in 2009 due to a dirty UA because I had spent 8 years every weekend snorting cocaine and drinking. And
Oh,
so hadn't
brutal.
been drug tested in 15 years, got drug tested, lost my job. Peter, but that was actually the best thing that ever happened to me because I really found out who Al Richards was.
Hey, this is Peter Anthony. This is the Utah Business Spotlight. I am super excited. You need to like, you need to share, you need to subscribe, you need to do whatever is necessary. Today I'm on with Al Richards, and we're talking about the Utah Success Summit, and it is all about healing. We love this summit, but it's all about how do you start a summit? What's the next step? How do you grow it? How do you scale it? And how do you exit? Let's start talking to Al about some of the great things he's doing with this summit. It's 5 years old. He has a partner, and we're going to learn more. Al, welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter, for asking me. I greatly appreciate it.
And brother, I'm so jealous of your guns, man. You look great. Oh my gosh, you're so good looking.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So tell me, tell our audience a little about your background. What is your background, and how did you come to the Healing Utah Success Summit?
Holy cow, man. It's been a hell of a journey, to be honest with you. Really, my background is manufacturing. I spent 24 years in manufacturing.
Oh, wow.
And I lost my job in 2009 due to a dirty UA because I had spent 8 years every weekend snorting cocaine and drinking.
Oh,
and so
brutal.
Hadn't been drug tested in 15 years, got drug tested, lost my job. Peter, but that was actually the best thing that ever happened to me because I really found out who Al Richards was. And it
gives you clarity in that moment, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we've all been there.
Mm-hmm.
I think many of us, maybe not in Utah as much, but I think truly everybody's been there. We've been addicted to something, or we've had consistent bad behavior that hasn't maybe completely impacted our lives, but if you remove it, your life just grows exponentially. You find clarity. Did you find clarity?
I found clarity. Yeah, I found out who I thought I was. I wasn't, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
and so I had made my mind up right then and there that I was going to change my life. I was going to become a better father, a better partner, a better friend. I was going to be somebody that you could count on. I was going to be somebody that had integrity. My lying and manipulating days were going to be over. And it all led me up to eventually starting a podcast. It'll be 5 years in March.
Wow.
And which I've been really excited and very
Where is the
blessed to
podcast?
do.
Where can
You can find it on Apple Pods, YouTube, Facebook under Al Richards, or AR, The Other Side of Addiction.
Oh,
on the
cool.
Facebook
AR,
pages.
The Other Side of Addiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that, man.
Yeah, so it just, and how Healing Utah Success Summit all started is co-founder Mallory Jacobs. She was my 6th guest on my show. I had a studio at the time, so she drove all the way up from St. George, came into the studio. She shared her story. She has an amazing story.
Yeah, we're trying to get her on the show.
So she has a very amazing story.
Cool.
And, I adopted her as like one of my daughters. She's the same age as my 2 daughters.
Wow.
And we just ended up becoming really good friends. And one day she called me. She goes, I got this crazy idea. What do you think? And when she got done sharing it with me, my eyes filled with tears. And I says, Mallory, you got to be freaking kidding me because I've been thinking the same thing.
Wow.
And we talked about it. And
that's for the summit, the idea.
That's for the summit. Yeah, we both had this vision of holding an event that would bring people in where we could help inspire, educate, let people know that there's hope, and have people come in who have battled addiction and share their stories and be vulnerable.
And it's, and there's, and I think I shared with you before we came on, I've spoken at NA meetings, I've spoken at AA meetings. I went through my own trials and tribulations as a young man. I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, but then when I went to college, I learned how to DJ and kind of broke away from the church. Now I'm LDS, but the idea behind how easy it is to get addicted to things, mm-hmm. especially things like cocaine and alcohol, because it's everywhere, and it's more of those are social drugs, and it was interesting. I came home one day and my grandmother looked at me, and I had just finished 4 nights in a row DJing, so obviously I was, and in New York the nightclubs were open till 4 in the morning.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so you could imagine, right? And I was at the biggest clubs in New York City, and I'd have famous people, very famous, like I don't want to say their names, but very famous people come in, and their handlers would say, "Hey, so and so from this band that sounds like a rock wants to come in and hang with you and whatever," and it's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then they would just bring in their own piles of cocaine. And that's how I got introduced to it, and it was terrible. And my grandmother said to me one day, she said, God's got a bigger plan. And I didn't even understand what that meant.
Yeah.
But I knew one thing. If God had a plan for me, I didn't even know God knew who I was. And then I never did drugs again my entire life. At 21, 22 years old, I just literally stopped doing drugs, which changed, and so share with me. I can tell you how it changed my life. It changed immediately my friendships.
Yeah. It definitely changed mine. I worked with a lot of great guys. Mm-hmm. No one knew I was doing it. As a matter of fact, the girl who ended up being my wife, the 3 years we dated, she didn't even have a clue I was doing it.
Really?
Now, she was drinking with me, but we were like social drinkers, as you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
She had no clue I was snorting cocaine behind her back for 3 years.
Wow.
And then we got married, and a month and a half after we got married, I lost the job. So I had to put my tail between my legs and tell her why I lost my job.
Holy cow.
And I worked with a lot of great guys. However, it's almost like I had the plague. It's like they didn't want anything to do with me anymore, which was crazy. However, going back to how God has plans for you, he started putting the chess pieces right in front of me. And I didn't know which direction to go, Peter, to be honest with you. It's like, how do you change yourself? How do you do it?
How do
you take something that you're
that's
so
the
used
biggest
to living,
question, right?
Yeah.
People ask, and change, I believe it starts with the decision. The journey of 1,000 miles doesn't start with the first step. It starts with the decision to make the second step. So the first step must happen. And I think for me, when I look at that, I think to myself, like, I couldn't tell you why I made the decision, but I could tell you that it was the best decision I ever made. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
So share.
Yeah, well, it was the decision of me wanting to change my life, right? And to become a different person, not knowing which direction to go. Do I go left? Do I go right? All I knew is that if I got back into fitness, that's all I knew. I had let myself go out. Always someone that took really good care of themselves. I was 198 pounds at the time, had a double chin, couldn't see my toes if I looked down because all I was doing was partying every weekend. And so I decided to get back into fitness. And I did. Thank you.
Really
and,
amazing.
I got back into it and started losing the weight and started clearing my head up, right? Once you start getting off the alcohol and the drugs, your head starts clearing up. You start thinking a lot clearer.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And then the right people started coming into my life, right? It's like God was putting somebody in my life that said, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. And they start sharing a little bit of their life. And you're like, oh, there's a little bit more direction. And then somebody else would come in. Oh, there's more direction. And then it just kept happening. And it's what really put me on this path too is my past wife. She ended up falling into alcoholism after I had lost my job and we lost our house.
Oh,
and
sorry.
That's what really started this whole journey, because me as being the spouse who made a lot of mistakes, especially hiding my cocaine use from her, and then her falling into her addiction and me not really understanding addiction, because I still didn't look at myself as an addict, right? I was only doing it 2 days out of 7.
Sure.
Right? 5 days of not using, that doesn't make you an addict, right?
That's how you justify it.
Justify it, right?
But
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Well, I don't have to stop it. I don't have to stop because I'm not doing it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah. So, that's what put me on this path. And something kept telling me I needed to do something, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I hid my past wife's alcoholism from everyone, family, friends, everyone. And people started noticing a change in me. And finally, one day I opened up to a friend, and he's like, Al, why are you not sharing your story? And I'm like, well, who wants to hear my story. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me, you know? And it's
Sure.
like, well, there's other people out there that's going through the same thing. And I've come to realize, Peter, you know, what is there, 70 billion people on this planet? And we
I think
think,
it's eight
is it
bill-
80 billion?
no, 8
Oh,
billion.
8 billion. Thank you. Not 70 billion.
Not
So
70.
thank you. So 8 billion
8
people.
billion people.
And we think we're the only ones that's going through what we're going through?
No,
No,
and
there's,
do you know what's interesting? Our stories, I think there's several things, and I would love you to touch on them. First, our personal hero journey should stay that. It's personal. But the fact that I made the decision, I took action, I stayed focused and congruent, I asked for help and support, and I kept moving forward, right? That tells the world, I don't know what your journey is going to be like. I stopped in a day, never looked back, but everything changed. Other people takes 90 days of rehab, 2 years of really wondering, right? So I think that there's components where some people have to wean off, meaning not they need to get off the drugs or get off the alcohol, but they have to wean off the lifestyle. And what I mean by that is it's shocking to your system when you have to get rid of all your friends or all the friends who do the things that you no longer do,
yeah.
right? And let me ask you this question, right? I struggled in the understanding that I looked at drugs and I still am really intelligent, and drugs come from drug dealers, and drug dealers are criminals. And that criminal enterprise that supplies drugs supports death, supports trafficking, supports breaking the law. All the things I don't love about our country's underground economy are supported through drugs. And if I take drugs, even though I might not do these other things, I'm supporting them. And that was all I needed to think about. And that was, for me, I was like, oh, holy cow. I never saw it that way. But someone else is going to see it a different way. Someone else is going to see it, well, I didn't have children. I wasn't married.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that anchor. You said you wanted to be a better father and a better husband. I didn't have that drive because I wasn't a father or a husband at the time. But I knew that I also knew that what else I wasn't. I wasn't the supporter of illegal contraband coming into our country and being supported by me and my friends. And my admission that, if you're the disc jockey in a big nightclub and you're doing it, you're giving permission to the whole entire nightclub to do it. You're the leader. You're at the pinnacle. You're at the top. And that was my aha moment. It's like, okay, if I'm at the top, maybe there's something else I'd like to say. Like, I never saw it that way until I started thinking about it, and God's got a plan for me. I don't think it was this.
Yeah. 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 And, for me, again, I didn't know what God's plan was for me. All I knew is it was going in a different direction. And getting rid of friends, it's not like I had to get rid of a lot of the friends because I hid everything from my friends. None of them knew. I only hung around a certain little small group that was doing it. My work friends, none of them knew.
Wow.
I kept it quiet and kept it hidden for 8+ years.
Wow.
So it was a heck of a thing I was keeping under the rug,
Yeah.
and pretending I was this other person that I wasn't.
And now you have the Healthy Utah Success Summit, and you're speaking a lot. How have you wound up integrating into this community where you're a sought-after speaker? People really want to know your story. How does that look? How did you develop that?
It was just when I sat down with my buddy, right? And he said, it's time for you to start sharing. And I started opening up and doing a lot of networking in all the years that I was doing networking after I lost my job. I started meeting a lot of people. And when I started opening up, I had people that I had known for 6, 7 years pull me off to the side and say, hey, I don't know if you knew it, but I used to be an alcoholic, or I used to be an addict. And it's like, oh my gosh. So talking about being a leader, right? The DJ, now I'm becoming that leader of people going, well, he's opened up. That's allowed me now to open up.
Yeah, and that's the permission I was talking
Yeah,
about.
it's that
Can you
permission.
give permission?
Mhm.
Because addiction is very often I think for men, maybe for women as well. I can only speak as a man because I am a man. But in this case, I think we feel as if it's a weakness and not understand that it's not necessarily a weakness. It is an addiction. And there are two different things. You're not weak because you're addicted. You're just addicted. And if you change the behavior, the addiction will go away. And then you'll have to deal with another component of wanting to jump back into that behavior. There's the draw, there's the seduction back to it because there was those euphoric moments. But initially, I think that people see it. So because they don't want to be seen as weak, they hide the addiction. Is that possible?
That could be possible, yeah. But a lot of times those who are battling addiction, they're just using that as the Band-Aid. They're suffering from something much deeper inside of them.
Yeah.
And usually it happens right around the puberty. I've just recorded my 367th show this morning, this afternoon.
Right on.
And all the individuals that I've interviewed, it seems to happen right around 11, 12, 13. Right around that puberty age is when things start changing. And there's usually some kind of trauma. And a lot of times we don't understand what that trauma is, right? It's just we know there's something wrong. And I think really for us guys, I was brought up the old-fashioned way, probably like you too. Don't you dare cry. I'll give you something to cry about. You pull up your big boy pants and you just freaking deal with it, right?
I'll give you something to cry about.
And so we were taught to hold all our emotions in because if we got caught crying, well, then we're going to get crap from our buddies, we're wussies, and whatever names that are coming to us, And when we learn how to sit in our emotions, that's what changes it, right? When we're willing not to go to a substance, whether drugs, alcohol, porn, gambling, eating, work, whatever it may be, and we're able to sit into our emotions and figure things out, that's where the real strength is at.
Yeah.
And then that's when you start realizing, I don't need this stuff to numb me anymore because I'm okay sitting in my emotions. Somebody said something to me really important on my very first talk that I did. I spoke at a Murray Chamber luncheon. I opened up and shared my story. I was up there just bawling. I had people at their tables coming up and handing me their napkins so I could wipe my tears. And I remember when I got done, I got off to the side. They finished the luncheon, and I had people coming up to me. And one of my friends came up to me and said, Al, holy cow, man, that was amazing. You had all of us crying at our tables. And I said, yeah, I apologize for crying. She goes, why are you apologizing? I says, because, being a guy, I shouldn't be up there crying. It's like, where the hell did you come up with that? It's like, you grabbed us all, man. We felt it was coming from your heart. None of that was pretend. And that really opened my eyes. And then when I did a second talk, my wife was in the audience at the time. And I told her, I says, gosh, I broke down and started crying again. She goes, if it helps you, Al, I think you're sexy when you cry. And I went, well, I'm going to cry every single time from here on out. You know?
That is definitely, that'll anchor it in.
But again, it's just letting other guys know too. It's okay. There's nothing wrong. We have every right to feel our feelings just like anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's when we hold those feelings in. My version of it, that's why more men are committing suicide from age 18 to I think now it's up to 60. Because they're holding all this stuff in and they're afraid to show their emotions because they're afraid of being ashamed. They're afraid of being shunned on or looked at as weak, and I like to use the story, and I'm going to have a buffalo put on my prosthetic leg here. But the Native Americans, they studied the buffalo a lot, right? Buffalo, when a storm's coming across the prairie, there's a lead buffalo that gets the herd together and he leads them into the storm. And the reason why he leads them into the storm, because it gets them through the storm much quicker. And when I heard that, that really hit something, really resonated with me, going, you know what? That's how I'm going to take on life. from
That's your
here
next
on out.
book.
Could be a next book, right?
Into the Storm.
Into the Storm. And
That's your next book.
yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna commit you to that.
Okay.
That is the next. That's the next book, Into the Storm, because that's so powerful. I mean, the metaphor is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and it does. When we're able to sit with our emotions and go head on to the storm, before we know it, we're on the other side. But when we're running away from it, the storm's chasing us. And as we're still running away, it's over us and it follows us.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
What a dynamic, because as you know, the storm's going one way and you go into it and through it, then that's just much more powerful than if you're exhausting yourself running from it. And that's what I think addiction is. We're running from the storm.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is,
Yeah.
in all honesty. We're running from something and we don't want to feel it.
So it chases us forever.
So it chases us. And then until we can buckle down and do it, and sometimes it takes people a while, right?
Yeah,
It takes a
for
while.
sure.
We're all on our own journey. And
Yeah.
that's another thing about us is what that's why we called it healing, because it's all about healing. It doesn't matter how your healing is, as long as you're working towards the healing, that's what's important.
And HUS is Healing Utah Success Summit,
Yep.
right? And you guys have a website?
Yeah. The Healing Utah Success Summit. You can check that out.
I love that, man.
Yeah, we just held our 5th event on October 4th, and it was flipping amazing. Talking about Native Americans, we had some come in called Wild Salmon, and they came in and played their big drum, and then one of their elders got up and said a prayer in the English language, and then he repeated that same prayer in their native tongue.
Powerful.
And I tell you what, it set the bar for everything on that event.
If you had to share, Al, there are people out right now that are watching that are addicts. They're thinking about suicide. They're stuck. 3 things they can do right now to take action. What are they?
Reach out to me, one of them. Email me, mralrichards@gmail.com.
Mr. Al Richards
Mr.
at
Al
Gmail.
Richards at gmail.com. Reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to set up a phone conversation. No, you cannot do it alone. You cannot do it alone.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a religious person. Whatever your higher power is, whatever that is for you, that needs to be a part of your life. And I don't like to use the word need a lot. However, that really needs to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
And community. They say the opposite of addiction is connection. And when you have that connection with other individuals who have gone through it, right?
Yeah.
Who are those the best? It's like if somebody asked me what it was like having a baby, I don't know.
Yeah.
I could tell you on the man's side part of things, but as a woman's side, I have no clue, right? I don't know what it's like. However, if you sit down and talk to somebody who's gone through that journey, who knows exactly where you're at, who knows the battles that's going on inside your head, because you're constantly fighting a war in that head of yours, those are the people that you want to reach out to. And I can help
Powerful.
with that, or I know other individuals that can help with that.
Right on. So the decision that you need to make is to reach out to Al. That's what you have to do. If you're thinking that you can't get through this alone, you don't have to be alone. He's right here putting his email. It's all right if we share your email.
Absolutely. That's
His
why I gave
email's
it.
in the description, and it's right on the screen. Reach out to Al. Start healing today. This is the Utah Business Spotlight. I don't think this is, as much as I think that I really wanted to go in the direction of talking about, HUS, right? And healthy Utah Success Summit. I have so many ideas that I want to help you with. We didn't get to those today because I think that healing, the first step to healing is really the community, right? It's finding those people who are going to walk the walk next to you until you can walk the walk alone,
And that's very well put. We get so many people after our event that come up and give so many of the team members and the speakers hugs and say, what you shared, I freaking get goosebumps and I get emotional even talking about it. What was shared that day, there was somebody that needed to hear that message. And that's what it's all about, right? When they know they can come up and give you a hug and say thank you, that's what gets all of us off. And I mean that in a respectful way. It's just, it means so much to us knowing
Sure.
that we just helped somebody understand and know that there are people out there, that there's a safe place, and it doesn't matter what they're going through. It doesn't matter how their journey is. We are here to say, look, we love you, and we'll support you however we can, and we'll do our best to give you the right resources and put you in front of the right people.
And that's what we have to keep doing, ladies and gentlemen. We have to find ways to share resources. You know, if you are passionate about something, if you have an idea, if you have a message to share, then your first step is to figure out, is there a community? And if there is a community, if the next answer is yes, there's a community, then start something like a HUS. Then make sure you get a group together. Even if it's a group of 1 or 2 or 5, even if you're promoting yourself on Meetup, that passion for people will turn into something extraordinary, because you never know who else shares that passion, who else shares that love, or who else is looking for forgiveness, opportunity, and direction. This is the Utah Business Spotlight. I'm with my friend Al Richards. Look up Healthy Utah
Healing Utah.
Healing Utah.
Healing Utah.
Look up Healing Utah Success Summit. Look up my friend Al and take your first step.